burden of guilt. Each man wants to be exonerated of guilt of this kind. Each one wants to continue on his way with the most placid, the calmest conscience. But he cannot be exonerated. He is guilty, guilty, guilty. It is not too late, however, to do away with this reprehensible of all miscarriages of government, so as to avoid being burdened with even greater guilt. Finally, we are trying to achieve a renewal from within of the severely wounded American spirit. The rebirth must be preceded, however, by the clear recognition of the guilt which the American people have burdened themselves, and by an uncompromising battle against Bush and his all too many minions. Folks, I have to admit that I was sort of tricking you a little bit. These are the words that come from the pamphlets of the White Rose. White Rose was a non-violent resistant group in Nazi Germany, consisting of a number of students from the University of Munich and their philosophy professor. The group became known for an anonymous leaflet campaign lasting from June 1942 until February 1943, and they called for active opposition against Hitler's regime. They were Germans. The 6 core members of the group were arrested by the Gestapo, convicted, and executed by beheading in 1943. The text of their last leaflet was smuggled out of Germany through Scandinavia to England. And in July 1943, copies of it were dropped over Germany by Allied planes. If you read Howard Zinn, you understand what being complicit in this kind of guilt means. It means that the Allied bombers bombed cities with people like us. Millions of people died. Millions of German citizens died. So I read this to you because I really think that the criminality that our tax dollars support, that our complicity supports, is hidden in plain sight. I know that I'm talking to a group of people that are particularly conscious and concerned, morally aware, rather active in general. But it doesn't fully absolve us of this guilt, because nevertheless 600 children died from a war that our country started. The number of casualties, the number of deaths caused directly by American gunfire, by American action, by our soldiers killing non-combatants, increased dramatically to about 800 in 2007, from about 600 the previous year. And they tell us that, this really isn't a war, it's just simply an occupation, and yet the number of people have doubled, verifiable number of people have doubled in terms of their deaths since the beginning of the invasion. What I want to talk to you about is something that I have termed Perpetual Revolt. I started in 2003. The beginning piece that I read to you was my sort of awakening. My daughter was on the way to being born. And I imagined what it would be like to have a child at risk of being murdered by liberation, and whether that would mean a damn thing to me, or whether I would also pick up a gun, and that I would also become that beast that I currently despise, but that I can sympathize with. And I didn't like the thought, because the thought was that of course I would, because it's hard to maintain humanity and civility when you lose everything that matters to you. And so I got involved in the anti-war movement. But I have a question for you. I guess it's sort of a rhetorical question, but no, actually I'll really open it to you. The White Rose had absolutely no success. The German student population was not interested. They wasted their time. They wasted their lives. They died for no reason. They all were beheaded. There's a movie about this. I haven't seen it yet. We should all check it. But my question to you is, did they die for no reason? What did they accomplish? If the goal of living and acting justly is to win a presidency, end a war. I wanted to end the war, but when I helped organize 1,000 people march in downtown Melbourne, when Miami could gather maybe just a couple hundred, shows you how amazing it is here. We didn't stop the war. So did we do anything? Is our activism worth anything? Should we just stop and enjoy our lives? Did these people sacrifice their lives for any good reason? So honestly, I would like to hear one or two people tell me, do you think the White Rose, doing this and sacrificing their lives, did they accomplish anything? What?
They were a role model for what we should be. Should is a bad word, but that's what we should be.
Right. What's that?
I don't see the good coming out of just should be.
Okay, so we're practical, rational people here. It's hard to see, beyond an idealistic, it was good what they did. It was the right thing. I think the problem that we all face is that we are too, and I will tell you at the outset that I am an atheist. So I don't believe in hereafter. But I think we're too concerned with winning and losing. We're missing the point. We're missing the picture. What is the meaning of life? Some would say there is no meaning of life. Joseph Campbell says, what's the meaning of a flower? It's the experience. It's the ideas behind it. But what I would say, the real purpose of why each and every one of us here should go to a Peace Corner on March 15th on Saturday. There's going to be an Eyes Wide Open exhibit with the combat boots representing each and every death, over 170 troops that have died from Florida. And at 300 shoes, civilian pairs of shoes. And folks, when these are given their due respect and placed out 2 feet from one another, it takes up an immense space. And it's such a fraction of the actual death toll. So, it doesn't seem to be that we can really stop this war. But I want to encourage each and every one of you that it is not only what you should do, but that you don't deserve to sleep at night unless you are doing everything you can. You don't deserve restful sleep. You don't deserve a clear conscience. So I don't know whether the White Rose really achieved anything. I think that they sent us a message from the past. Because all I did was change Hitler and Bush, change German to American,